Well, have you heard there's the letter of the law and then there's the spirit of the law? So in divorce, for example, the letter of the law says a property division should be fair and equitable. So what you think is fair and equitable is probably different than what I think is fair and equitable. So usually we just come up with a compromise and say, oh, let's just split it 50-50. But if you're looking about the spirit of the law, you really want each person to come away with the best they can come away with. So an analogy is you have an orange and you can chop it in half and each person gets half an orange. Or you can have a conversation. Why do you need this orange? What about the orange would work for you? And you might say, I want the juice. And I might say, I just need the zest for my cake. And then we've created more than half of an orange. And we're both happier because we get what we needed. So that's like the spirit, how to create the win-win. Rather than, well, it just means we got to compromise and split the baby in half. I wear two hats. My lawyer hat is where I would represent you, you would be my client, and I would work with you as how to, get a good deal for you. And as a mediator, I would work with you and your spouse, and I'd have a different hat on, even though I am a lawyer, and I would be the facilitator of your conversations. So I would help you go through, okay, how are we going to divide our property? If we have kids, what are we going to do with parenting? And I am not taking anybody's side, and I'm going to recommend that you go to your independent attorneys at some point to get some legal advice, because what I give as a mediator is legal information. So I can say certain things like, there's a 90-day waiting period after you file. I can say I've seen people do this and such with parenting, but I'm not taking anybody's side. So that's the difference. With a lawyer, you're my client and I'm on your side. Well, I would like to say that I have this book that I recommend for people. It's called Transitions, because divorce is really a major life transition. And so it doesn't stop and end with coming in to get your paperwork done for your divorce. And often one person is at a different place in the divorce. One is like been thinking about it for a few years. One might be blindsided by it. So the emotional piece of the transition, a transition starts with an ending, and then there's this time where you don't really know what to do before the new beginning. And so often people have to go, or they think they have to go from the ending to the new beginning like that. And what I counsel is, if you can slow it down, give yourself or your spouse time to catch up emotionally. You don't have to make all these big decisions in a time when you're still in shock, for example. So that's one thing that I like to tell people. And another thing I like to tell people is, when you're just considering it, you can come and find out what your options are of how to get divorced. And I'm one of 4 people that do a group information session. And we'll sit down with a couple and give them the same information at the same time about how to go through it. Do you want to mediate? Do you want to do a collaborative divorce? Do you want to litigate? Do you want to do it at the kitchen table? There's such a range of ways to divorce that I feel like if people are clear about how and make a choice how we're going to do it before they get into doing it. It's like, hey, I'm going to move out now and take the kids. It's like, wait, can we talk about how we're going to go about this? How are we going to make decisions? Are we going to let a judge make all our decisions for us? Are we going to pay all our money to lawyers? Are we going to have more control and do it in a way that we have some say? Because we know our family. And lawyers are expensive. So how can we do it keeping the money in our own pockets? Everybody wants to do that. But people don't talk about that at the beginning. they just go hire a lawyer and start the war sometimes, and then it's like, oh geez, we're in at 15 grand, now what do we do? So that's why I say, if a couple is interested, come and talk to some people that do it collaboratively, so that you don't have to go to court and spend all that money. You can actually have conversations, and you can have lawyers that trust each other and work well together and can support everybody, instead of just like one side and the other side going at it. Now that doesn't work for families. So those are a couple things I would recommend. There's pretty exciting ways to get through a traumatic time that there didn't used to be. You know, mediation's been around a while, collaboration's even younger than mediation, but we professionals are learning how to do this that's in a supportive way. I always recommend people come sooner than later to a lawyer, and what I'm going to say is, you and your spouse, if you'd like, can come for a free hour with 4 people, 4 professionals. We'll talk to you about what collaborative divorce looks like and what the range of options are, so you can decide how you want to go through this. No obligation, don't have to hire us. We're just educating people. Make a choice at the beginning about how to do it before you just get sucked into going one direction without even knowing you had another opportunity, another option. So I just want to be really encouraging to people when it looks bleak and you can't see that you're going to make it, that you can talk to somebody who's been with hundreds of couples who've made it. And, you know, I've got some experience with having people make it pretty darn well. Surprising to them. So I just want to tell people it's possible to have a good divorce, even though it sounds like an oxymoron.